They were pillars of their community.
Two just really salt of the earth people that were trying to make a living by running a neighborhood grocery store.
But a senseless act of violence ripped their world apart.
I was outraged that someone would do this to these elderly people.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda must solve a case that brings his emotions to a boiling point.
I was angry to the core. You're not going to do this in my city. You're just not. You need to be in a cage, and you need to never get out.
Wait, what's your hand?
Will Kenda and his men hunt down these elusive suspects? Or will they forever remain one step ahead of the law?
We are minutes behind them, maybe even seconds. I'm seeing the heel of their shoe disappearing behind a corner. I'm seeing a finger as it disappears behind a tree. They are in the wind. Oh, you sons of bitches. There's one thing that never changes: murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved over 387 homicides. Somebody has to take control. Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
It's almost lunchtime on a chilly November day in Colorado Springs. On the city's west side, store manager Rudy Milena glances at the clock in the Rio Grande Grocery and Market.
The store was small. It was a gathering place. Sometimes people just came in to talk, pass the time away.
Though Rudy runs the business, it's owned by his parents, Sam and Rosa Milena, who live in a home connected to the market.
When my grandfather turned around 60, 65, he decided he didn't want to work the store anymore. And my dad took control of the store.
Hey, Dad. Pretty slow this morning.
Grandpa would take over the store when Rudy went home to eat.
Rudy and his family live next door.
I'll be back in about 30, 45 minutes.
Take your time.
We just had served ourselves. No one had even taken a bite.
Mom, need anything else?
Just before we sat down, Mom said there's someone running in the backyard.
What is doing in our backyard?
I said, Rudy, what are these people doing?
He said, something's going on. They're coming from Grandpa's house.
Call 911.
Rudy dashes out the back door in pursuit of the strangers. Ruth and Rebecca check the store, but Grandpa Sam is nowhere to be found.
Nobody was in the store. I walked into the living room, and they were on the floor. My grandfather was face down, and he was just lying there.
Sam appears to have been stabbed multiple times. A few feet away, Rebecca sees her grandmother under the coffee table.
Oh my gosh, Mom! Mom!
Her eyes were watching me. She was on her back, and she couldn't talk. I noticed she had a trickle of blood coming out of her ear.
I ran to the phone and I called 911. Hurry, come quick, something terrible has happened.
Across town, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is breaking in his new detective, Luis Velez. It's Luis's first day in homicide.
He was excited about being there, and we had a long process of training we were going to go through, and I explained that to him. And I had met him before, and I liked him. I thought he was a great guy. So I thought we'd have a very good working relationship, and we were just a couple of hours into it. I was showing him how to write a search warrant because he'd never done that.
Any little mistake on it that will throw it right out of court, you can ruin the whole case.
But Kenda is interrupted by an urgent call.
Go ahead for Kenda.
241.
We had heard a radio dispatch of a robbery that had taken place at a grocery store on South Conejo Street. We also got information that there were injuries, there were victims at the scene.
All right, we'll be right there.
So I looked at him and I said, you go from being a new guy to an old guy in homicide in about 15 minutes. So welcome to being an old guy.
It looks like you're about to get your feet wet.
I had anticipation, certainly, but I wanted to make sure that I proved the people who selected me correct. I wanted to do a great job on the investigation. Those were all the feelings that I was having as we were going towards South Conejos.
When we arrived, their police are surrounding the Rio Grande grocery. The press is setting up. A large group of neighbors are out.
Detective. How you doing? Okay, tell me about the victims.
Sam Malena and his wife, Rosa. They operate this business. They have for 40 or 50 years.
The victims were still there, but they were being treated and they were being moved by one of the ambulance companies.
I see the elderly man has got a great deal of blood on his clothing. He appears non-responsive. EMTs say that the man has been stabbed 3 times in the chest. And the wife? They can't tell. She has some blood coming out of one ear. These people do not look like they're going to survive this.
As the victims are rushed to the hospital, Kenda heads through the store into the Malena's home.
The attack on both of these people didn't happen in the store. It happened in their residence, which is connected to the store. There's a blood stain on the carpet where Sam was. Not large, but fairly heavy, so a substantial amount of bleeding. In an elderly man, that's not a good thing.
What was the position of the victim's body?
The female was over here, underneath the coffee table, and her head sticking out with her eyes open.
All right, thank you.
Unlike her husband Sam, there's no blood where Rosa was discovered, nor are there any signs of a struggle.
There's no ransacking, no radio or TV or stereo equipment removed or unplugged or ripped out of the wall, none of that. Nothing is out of place.
The same can't be said for the Malena's mom-and-pop grocery store.
The cash drawer is open. The coin tray is on the floor behind the counter. There are no coins, save 1 U.S. penny laying on the carpet. And there's no paper money. Obvious it's a robbery. These people are attacked. The register is emptied, and the money's removed.
At the other end of the checkout counter, Kenda spots another clue.
I see a telephone on the counter. It's interesting because the cord to this phone goes all the way into the residence of where Sam and Rosa live.
The presence of a residential phone in a place of business piques Kenda's interest. The victim's granddaughter, Rebecca, sheds some light on the subject.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Kenda. Sorry about what happened. Can I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
Can you tell me about the telephone on the counter?
She said, well, if customers want to use the phone, they have to pay 20 cents to make the call. Did the person who did this first ask to use the phone? We need to know that.
Kenda questions Rebecca about her grandparents. Who would want to hurt them?
Can you tell me about your grandparents?
They're very hardworking people.
The store was really important to my grandfather and grandmother. It was their livelihood. It was their connection with the world. They knew everybody. Everybody knew them.
They're very giving people. They try to take care of everyone they can.
It was very close-knit. The store was like a central place where everyone kind of hung out. Everybody knew everybody. A lot of people came to get groceries, and a lot of people couldn't afford them. So my grandfather would offer them credit. They'd leave the store and say, put it on my bill.
Can you put this on our mother's tab?
Sure, does your mother knows about it?
People would come from different places to play at the park next door. So That attracted people to come. Oh, look, there's a store next door and they have penny candy.
If there was a lot of money in the register, either Rudy or his father would take money out and take it to the back and put it away. They only kept money in the cash register for change. They didn't let it pile up in the store.
Doing good?
Can I use your phone?
Sure.
There wasn't that much cash. The cash register would have the tally for the day and, you know, $29 maybe one day. A good day was maybe 70.
That morning had been fairly slow. The register tally shows a grand total of just $32.
You bastards. These are little old people running a bread and milk store in the middle of nowhere, and you're going to attack them for the contents of the register? I was angry to the core. You're not going to do this in my city. You're just not.
So what exactly did Rebecca see at lunch?
Can you describe him for me?
They were scaling the fence when I looked out. He was already on the other side of the fence, and he looked toward us, and he was a black man.
The black man was 5'7", 5'8", kind of slender.
Rebecca only caught a fleeting glance of the man, but the woman had a feature that she wouldn't soon forget.
I saw her red afro hair, white female with red hair.
That seemed to be the thing that really stood out, is that she had, red hair.
So we've gone from two people to a vague description of two people, which is a starting place.
Finding the two suspects is priority number one. But as Kenda questions Rebecca, a call comes in.
All right, thank you.
That ups the stakes even further.
Go ahead for Kenda.
I get a call from the hospital. Sam Milena is dead from his wounds. So it's confirmed homicide. It's condition of Rosa, critical but stable.
Velez,
Hey, detective.
we lost a husband, we might lose a wife. We need to get to the hospital.
With the crime's last living witness fighting for survival, Kenda and Velez need to speak with Rosa Milena as soon as possible. As he leaves, Kenda takes one last look at the crowd gathered outside the store.
Instead of the usual clamor that's going on in crime scenes, this is like a church. Nobody's making a sound. And they're all looking at us. And I know what they're thinking. What are you going to do about this? Watch me, and you're going to find out what I'm going to do.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda and rookie detective Luis Velez have responded to a call at the Rio Grande Market. The store's beloved owners, Sam and Rosa Milena, were the victims of a vicious armed robbery.
I was outraged that someone would do this to these elderly people.
Sam Milena has died from his injuries, but his wife Rosa has been rushed to a nearby hospital and is holding on for dear life. Adding insult to injury is the fact that the Milena's blood was spilled for a mere $32.
That case hit me where I live. How innocent could these people be? How violent could this crime be? For $32? Oh my.
Kenda has also learned that two suspects were spotted fleeing the scene. A black male, approximately 5'8", and a white female with a shock of red hair. Kenda gets this description to every officer in the area.
We have two people that are running. We don't know where or with who. So you get every pair of eyes you can get and you put them in the field. You let them do the finding, and we'll do the talking once we actually get our hands on them.
In the meantime, Kenda is desperate to speak with the crime's sole survivor, Rosa Milena. Though critically injured, she's finally able to speak.
I'm very concerned about Rosa, but by the same token, we have a higher calling here. We've got to find the people responsible for this. So we've got to get to her, and we have to get to her right now.
Excuse me, sir. I'm Detective Kenda. Is it possible I talk to your mom for a minute?
I know this is probably the worst moment of your life. But if we're going to find these people, we need Rosa to help us.
I asked them if she would be comfortable talking in Spanish or in English. I can speak both.
Does she speak English, or if not, I speak Spanish?
She's fine to speak English.
He said, well, she's fluent in English, but when she gets excited, she bounces back and forth between English and Spanish. So my partner here, Luis, is fluent in Spanish.
Thank you.
We sit down, we pull our chairs up so she doesn't have to raise her voice because she's having difficulty breathing.
I'm very sorry about what happened.
Even for a seasoned veteran, the brutal nature of Rosa's injuries is unnerving.
Her right eye is swollen shut, and there is a bruise running down her face. And when you look at it closely, you see the pattern of a sole of a shoe. Somebody jumped on her face. I looked at Velez, and Velez looked at me, but this was not the moment to ask her about that. But that made me furious.
Outrage was the term that I thought of at the moment.
Can you explain to me what happened?
I heard a noise.
Rosa says she was in the kitchen when she first heard voices coming from the market.
She knew someone came in. She didn't know who it was. She heard them ask to use the phone.
Can I use the phone? Yes, sir.
And then I heard a crash.
She turns and looks, and she says she sees her Sam. He's on the floor in the living room, and he has blood on his shirt. And standing over him is a black male.
What you doing?
And she yells at him, "What are you doing?" And that gets his attention, and he goes after her. She described that he grabbed her by her throat and her hair. She suffered a beating at the hands of the suspect.
Just remember, he had my Sam.
As she relives these horrific events, Rosa's voice begins to shake. Kenda decides it's best not to push her much further.
I've gotten a lot from her, but I don't want to do her harm. So I said, okay, Rosa, thank you so much. Try and get better. And she looks at me and she says, what about my Sam? Excuse me. I said, Rosa, we'll find who hurt your Sam. We'll find him.
I need to call a photographer to get a picture of the footprint on her face.
Yes, sir.
I want a photograph, a one-to-one photo of the bruise on her face. When I say one-to-one photograph, I want to be able to compare that bruise to any shoe I might recover from a suspect.
Do you mind if I talk to you in the hallway for a minute?
Sure.
Kenda wants to know if Rudy can provide any additional information about the people he saw fleeing the scene.
Have any idea who they are?
I think I've seen that guy before.
Rudy explains that he helps out the landlord who owns many of the properties near the Rio Grande grocery.
Rudy says, I've collected rent from the people I saw running out the back. I know I have. I've collected it from the guy.
Do you know what his name is?
It'd be in the receipt book.
Terrific. Let's go find the book.
Do you mind going back in the shop with me?
Sure.
He's going through the book. There, he says. I look at the book. It's of Jarius James Jr.
308 and a half South Conejos.
A couple buildings away from the store.
It's a solid lead, but given all that the Malena family has been through today, Kenda and Velez want to be sure Rudy's thinking clearly.
You have to be careful when you're talking to witnesses when they're distressed.
Are you sure that's him?
Pretty sure.
You're either certain or you're not. But we're going to go with what we have. And what we have right now is Jarius James Jr. And I'm happy with that for now. Let's see where that goes.
With a backup team in place, Kenda approaches the residence of Jarius James.
We surround this place. We listen. We hear people talking and laughing.
You're 2 or 3.
All right, there's somebody's home. We knock on the door. Somebody opens it. We blast through the door, guns drawn.
Please, let me see your hands!
It appears the detectives have busted up a marathon poker game.
There are 3 guys in this apartment. There are cards and card hands on the table. Everybody's scared to death in this apartment.
Who's Jarius James?
This kid raises his hand and says, "That's me."
You're Jarius James?
Yes, sir.
Jarius James Jr. is a white male.
Jarius hardly fits the witness's description of a slender black male, but Kenda knows that doesn't necessarily rule him out.
People get race wrong, they get height wrong, they get body weight wrong, they get everything wrong. People who witness a violent crime are maxed emotionally. So the fact that Jarius is white and not black is not particularly disturbing to me.
We're investigating a homicide at the Rio Grande Market.
The Melena's market?
Somebody hurt them? Yeah. Sam's dead. He was genuinely distressed.
What happened?
Stand up.
Despite Jarius's reaction, Kenda isn't willing to close the book on this lead just yet.
We check Jarius's clothing, we check his shoes, we check his apartment, we check everything. We look for knives, we look for blood, we look for any evidence whatsoever. There's nothing. He is not the guy.
However, Kenda still believes the suspects might live in the neighborhood near the Melena's store. He orders his men to fan out and canvass the area. Kenda and Velez start with Jarius's neighbor.
So we've already been to 308.5. Let's go next door and start that way. 310.5. Knock at the door. Tenant answers. His name is Elmer Braden.
Detective Kenda.
We give him the description.
A male and a female.
Mr. Braden, do you recognize or think you've ever seen the following 2 people in the neighborhood? He says, "Oh yeah, they live downstairs." Oh, now we're cooking.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda is on the hunt for a young couple suspected in a vicious attack that left elderly shop owner Sam Melena dead and his wife Rosa in critical condition.
You couldn't ask for nicer people. They were very well thought of and held in high regard in that neighborhood by anybody that had lived there for any length of time.
Convinced that his 2 suspects, a black male and white female with red hair, live in the neighborhood, Kenda orders a canvass of the area. It doesn't take long to drum up a new lead.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Detective Kenda?
Name's Braden. Elmer Braden.
We're looking for a couple people. A male and a female. Guy's black guy, about 5'7", 5'8". Girl's Caucasian, red hair, kind of afro-like. Any chance you've seen them around?
Well, it sounds like the couple that just moved in downstairs.
Downstairs here?
Yeah.
He's a black guy. He's in the Army.
His name's Lawrence Todd, I believe. Everybody calls him Larry.
How about the girl?
I think her name's Vivian. She's got real frizzy red hair.
Wow. All of a sudden, it appears in front of you. The critical piece.
Braden says the young couple just recently moved into the basement apartment, but in that short span of time, they'd already earned a bad reputation.
I wish they'd move the hell out.
Why is that?
They're nothing but trouble. They are absolutely flat broke. They have no money.
Braden tells Kenda he believes his new neighbors robbed him.
I went ahead and called the Melena Market up the street to see if they've spent any money lately, and sure enough, they bought a whole boatload of groceries the other day.
Now Braden's convinced that she took the money. He confronts her. People at the store told me you bought a lot of groceries, like $50 worth.
As he's listening to Braden's story, Kenda begins to wonder if the violence inflicted on the Melenas wasn't random after all.
What if it's revenge? You told the Bradens about me buying groceries, with money I stole from them.
The revenge angle might also explain why the attack on Sam and Rosa was so brutal.
So at the end of this conversation with Braden, I said, anything else? Any other contact?
Any chance you saw him in the neighborhood recently?
Well, Lawrence came up here a little bit ago. Wanted to get 20 cents to make a telephone call.
In her statement at the hospital, Rosa Milena mentioned hearing a man ask to use the phone at the store.
Hey, can I use the phone?
Yes, sir. It would be 20 cents.
Kenda believes this could very well have been that call.
And that whole scene comes into my head. There's the phone on the counter. What if the old man won't bring it out till he has the 20 cents? And what if he knows that? Our man has no intention of making a phone call. It's a distraction device. So he can gain control of the man and empty the register at the same time. Now I feel terrific.
Braden's information gets Kenda one step closer to his suspects. Before long, he has a team staged outside their apartment.
There's lights on. We hear a radio playing softly inside. Did we just get lucky? Guns come out slowly. Warrant in hand, we kick it in.
Please, let me see your hands!
The place is empty. It's filthy, trashed, dirty clothes, dirty socks, junk everywhere. We certainly find no evidence of the crime. We find no money. We find no bloody items. We find no knife.
But they do discover a stockpile of paperwork.
Lieutenant, found this in the bedroom.
The documents provide Kenda with a crucial piece of information: his suspects' names.
Lawrence Eugene Todd, Vicki Lynn Laughlin.
We found out that they were from Visalia, California. The male suspect had been in the United States Army, stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado, just to the south of Colorado Springs.
On these documents, we find they're both 19 years old. Legally, in Colorado, they are adults. So they are pursuable and chargeable as adults for the crime of murder.
Kenda now has a slew of information about his suspects.
Just talk to him, see if the description fits the vehicle.
He adds this intel to his case file and issues another all-points bulletin.
We put out a description of these two people statewide and nationwide. Anybody sees these people approach with caution, assumed to be armed and dangerous.
The press picks up the bulletin. Soon, a flood of tips come rolling in.
When you have what we consider to be a major crime, you set up a command post to try to determine method of escape, possible route of travel, things that can lead you to an arrest. You start placing times and pins where these calls call in and say, I saw a black male and a girl with red hair at this address at this time. You mark all those places.
We've got a sighting at San Miguel and Cooper about an hour ago.
Lieutenant, I'm also tracking him at Jackson and Chestnut.
As Kenda studies his board, a pattern of movement begins to emerge.
We have two people that are running. They are moving from the scene north. They're moving on an interstate highway. Where are they going?
Another call comes in. This one urgent.
Lieutenant, I think I've got one for you.
This is Lieutenant Kenda.
Is from a guy who says he picked them up, and he hits their description to a T.
How long ago?
He says the man has a cut on his hand, and when he asked him about the cut, he said he got it climbing over a fence, and that they were so agitated and kept looking behind them and so on, he got frightened of them, and he dropped him off at Garden of Gods Road and I-25. That's 5 miles from where our crime scene is.
Garden of the Gods?
The Garden of the Gods is a scenic red rock formation just north of town. It's also home to a thriving commercial district.
It's full of truck stops, gas stations, bars, convenience stores, all kinds of places. We flood cars into there.
Cops swarm the area and leave no stone unturned. But the search comes up empty.
We are minutes behind them, maybe even seconds. In my head, I'm seeing the heel of their shoe disappearing behind a corner. I'm seeing a finger as it disappears behind a tree. We're close, but we're not close enough. And it's just making me crazy. Where are these sons of bitches? And why can't we find them?
A brutal robbery at the Rio Grande Market has claimed the life of elderly store owner Sam Malena and left his beloved wife Rosa in critical condition. So far, Lieutenant Joe Kenda's prime suspects, Lawrence Todd and Vicki Lynn Laughlin, have managed to stay one step ahead of the law.
You think you're going to have them, and you don't. There's no emptier feeling than that. They are in the wind. Oh, you sons of bitches. I stayed there for a night all by myself, just looking at that map and wondering, where are you now?
Thankfully, the next morning brings some new information.
Exactly where that was.
Lieutenant,
What'd you get?
I contacted Visalia PD. They gave me their rap sheet.
The suspect's criminal records give Kenda a sense of who he's dealing with.
Vicki has a minor record in Visalia, California, shoplifting, petty theft, that sort of thing. Lawrence only has one serious offense, which is assault with a deadly weapon in California. But when people become desperate, it's very easy to do desperate things.
Visalia PD is able to supply Kenda with photos of his suspects, a key piece of the puzzle if he's going to track them down.
So we included those photographs on our notices. In addition to the physical description, here's a picture of these people.
There's also news from Fort Carson, the Army post where Lawrence Todd was stationed.
And we learned from a sergeant in his unit that Todd had been having lots of problems in the past several months. He really hates the Army, and he wants out any way he can get out, and he talks about it all the time. And then he went AWOL. Basically, desertion.
The sergeant also tells Kenda he believes he knows where Vicki and Lawrence are headed.
They want to go to California. That's all they both talk about, going home to Visalia, California. All this time you've been digging around in the dark, and here it is, right in front of you, as bright as day. This is what I've been looking for.
But if Kenda's prime suspects are going to make it back to California, they'll have to pass through an area near Denver known as the Mousetrap.
It is a spaghetti of asphalt, roads and green signs pointing everywhere. As a result, there are innumerable truck stops, restaurants, and what have you.
Hello, this is Detective Kenda from Colorado Springs.
So I'm on the phone to the Denver Police Department. Check your truck stops in the Mousetrap. Check all the areas around those highways to see if they're there.
And we think that's where they might be heading.
Unbeknownst to Kenda, trucker Dale Lang is on his way out of Colorado, headed west on I-70.
I'd got an early start that day because I had to go to 2 different places in Utah. So I was on the road by 6.
Dale isn't far into his drive when he spots a hitchhiker.
I noticed this red-headed woman standing there with her thumb up. And then when I pulled over, I seen the gentleman just off the road.
Hey, where you going?
I said I was going to Price, but they said, well, we're going to California. I said, well, I'd take you as far as Green River. They said that would be fine.
Okay.
The young couple seems friendly enough, but Dale Lang immediately notices something odd about them.
They didn't have any luggage, no backpacks, nothing, just them.
The conversation remains light as they cross the Utah border.
Hey, we really appreciate the ride again, man. It's no problem.
They were pretty excited. They acted like just a couple of lovebirds, you know, going for their first adventure.
As Dale enters Crescent Junction, Utah Highway Patrol gets a hot tip.
A woman who works in a business in this little junction, she hears a description of our two suspects. She calls the Utah Highway Patrol. She says they're in a truck that's going west on I-70.
They send a cruiser to the area. Minutes later, Dale's truck comes barreling into sight.
State patrolman was coming the other direction, and as soon as I passed him, he flipped on his lights and pulled a U-E.
Dale checks his speedometer. He's not speeding. But when he pulls his rig over, he glances at his passengers and sees a shift in their demeanor.
Their eyes had changed, I mean, from being sparkly, lively to like it was a blank.
Driver, exit the vehicle and bring the paperwork back in my car.
You two just wait here and I'll take care of it, okay?
Good, you got a driver's license with you?
I do.
Okay, do you have any passengers with you?
Yes, I have a man and a woman.
Mr. Lang, reason I'm pulling you over is, what do you know about those passengers you got? And I said, I picked them up in hitchhiking just on the other side of the border in Colorado. He said, well, they're wanted in Colorado Springs for homicide. I said, what?
Passengers, exit the truck and come back in my car.
With Dale taking cover,
Stay there.
the officer draws his gun and orders the two passengers out of the truck.
So I was wondering what was going to go on, you know. I mean, they were wanted for murder. I didn't know if they had any weapons or not. I didn't see any, but it didn't mean they didn't have any.
There may be some gunplay involved here. You have to be prepared for that.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda's two murder suspects, Lawrence Todd and Vicki Lachlan, have been on the run for days. Kenda had a hunch they were headed for Denver, and he was right. Tips placed the suspects in trucker Dale Lang's big rig, and now Utah Highway Patrol has them pinned.
You are stopping a vehicle that contains what you believe are suspects who are armed and dangerous.
Passengers, exit the vehicle and come back in my car. Stay there.
He was worried there was going to be gunplay, I'm sure.
But the suspects emerge empty-handed.
Then he told him to lay down on the ground. Handcuffed those people. And then told me I could go on my way.
I'm sitting at my desk and I'm reviewing the information from California.
This is Kenda.
Utah Highway Patrol. We got Todd Lachlan.
You're kidding.
Where you got him? Emery County Jail, Emery County, Utah?
All right, we're on our way.
You're coming here? Yes, we are.
Kenda books a flight to Salt Lake City for himself and rookie detective Luis Velez.
So off we go. Rent a car at Salt Lake Airport. We drive to the Emery County Jail. We get there at 11 o'clock at night.
Moments later, Kenda and Velez sit opposite their female suspect, Vicki Lachlan.
Vicki, I'm Detective Kenda. This is Detective Velez.
We advise her of her rights. She says she understands them and she waves.
Do you understand these rights? I've spoken them to you.
I understand.
I was relieved that she did want to talk. There are always going to be open segments of a case, and the only way that you can fill those segments is, in fact, when you have somebody that's willing to talk. Why would you rob a little neighborhood grocery store? Why would you hurt these elderly people. You could never answer those questions unless if one of the suspects gives you a confession and brings you into their world.
I expected her to say, I want a lawyer. She said, I have to tell you. I have to tell you what happened. And she seemed quite sincere about that. Great. Tell us.
We need to talk to you about what happened back in Colorado.
Was she out for revenge?
I went ahead and called the Milena Market up the street, and sure enough, they bought a whole boatload of groceries the other day.
But Vicky claims that wasn't the motive.
Well, I was accused of stealing. Didn't do it.
You had nothing to do with it.
No.
How can you explain the money for the groceries?
Lawrence gave me the money.
Her demeanor, her attitude just takes away the entire theory of revenge. You lose the picture of the architect.
But if it wasn't revenge, what was it?
Well,
Whose idea was it to rob the store? Oh, that was Lawrence. And he told me I had to go with him or he was going to beat me up.
he beats me whenever he gets mad at me.
When we're sitting there listening to her, it's difficult, and it was difficult for Luis because he hadn't done it before very much, to not jump in and start asking a bunch of questions. And I told him that before we went in there. If she wants to talk, let's just let her talk. Let her talk. No matter what she says, let her talk. Let her talk, and she won't say anything else. Then we'll ask questions. Okay.
Tell me what happened.
We were poor, living in an apartment in the basement.
They need money. That's their motive. Rob the people. They're old. They can control them. They can take the money.
According to Vicky, after borrowing 20 cents from Elmer Braden, she and Lawrence made their way to the Rio Grande market.
Hey, can I use the phone?
Yes, sir. 20 cents.
The guy went and brought it back. And as he was leaving again, Lawrence went and grabbed him around the neck and started strangling him.
Vicky says Lawrence yelled at her to give him the knife. But she froze.
I was so upset I just threw my jacket at him.
Give me a knife! Come on!
And said it's in the pocket, and he rifled through the pocket, found the knife.
He got the man on the ground, stabbed him in the chest.
The old man rolled over from the pain. And then he stabbed him twice in the back. And he cut his hand on the knife when he did it, because his hand slipped.
At that point, Sam's wife Rosa came into the room.
What you doing?
He grabbed her and around the neck, started choking her.
And then he jumped on her head. He said he wanted to break her neck.
Thinking Rosa was dead, Lawrence turned his rage back on Sam.
He got on his legs, said he wanted to hear his bones break.
Satisfied that both Sam and Rosa appeared dead, Lawrence raided the cash register.
He grabbed the money and he ran out the back door.
The couple then made a beeline to a highway overpass a few blocks away, where Lawrence ditched the knife.
She says Lawrence threw it under the bridge on the interstate. Before we got our first ride, he threw it away. Did it have blood on it? Yeah, it had blood on it.
What happened next?
We climbed up onto the highway, started hitchhiking to California.
Near the Utah border, Lawrence and Vicky were picked up by Dale Lang. By the time they crossed into Utah, law enforcement was hot on their heels.
You two just wait here and I'll take care of it, okay?
Vicky falls silent, and Kenda studies the troubled teenager in front of him.
Are you sure that's the truth?
Yes, sir.
Everything that you said in that story is factual.
Next up, Lawrence Todd.
I'm Detective Kenda. This is Detective Velez. Lawrence, we need to talk to you about what happened back in Colorado.
His demeanor is flat. He's not angry at us. He's not afraid of us.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say,
I ain't
you can't
speaking to
will
nobody until I get my lawyer, man.
That was the end of that conversation. Didn't take very long.
All right. Well, someone come get you to take you back to your cell.
While they wait for Lawrence's legal counsel to arrive, Kenda inspects the personal items taken from the suspects when they were booked. And sure enough,
I look at his personal property to include his shoes or a pair of sneakers. I turn those sneakers over, and the bruise on Rosa's face is a perfect match to Lawrence Todd's shoes.
Look at the heel. Yeah. Same pattern.
A shoe print would be almost as good as matching a fingerprint because there would be nicks and things on that heel that could be matched up through analysis to the exclusion of all other shoes on the face of the earth.
Kenda makes a call to headquarters and tells detectives where they can find the murder weapon.
The next morning at first light, they went out and searched that bridge area, and they found the knife, just like she said.
With physical evidence bolstering Vicky's story, Kenda has the pair extradited back to Colorado Springs.
They indicted both defendants on 6 counts.
The charges include aggravated robbery, attempted murder, and first-degree murder. Vicky Laughlin cuts a deal with the DA. In exchange for leniency, she'll testify against Lawrence Todd.
Vicky Lynn Laughlin was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Lawrence Todd was found guilty. He was sentenced altogether to life plus 98 years, ensuring that he would never be released from custody.
Though the outcome provides some measure of justice, it can't fully heal the wounds that have scarred the Milena family, especially Rosa.
She was very sad in those last few years. She's very, very lonely without my grandfather. It just really hurts me that she had to go through that.
It was very, very hard on all of us. We just got closer together. We realized how beautiful life is, how fast you can just be gone.
That case made me crazy, and I have never forgotten it. You're going to take a life for $32? What exactly are you? You need to be in a cage, and you need to never get out.